Hello, hello. In this lesson, I would like to show you how to take your soloing in more of a jazz direction without actually having to know how to play jazz. So we could do a few things right from the get-go before we even play. If you have a guitar with humbuckers, grab that guitar and then put it in neck position with the toggle switch up, and then just go with a clean sound and just lighten up your touch. That's huge. All right, so the first thing I would do after that when we actually play is you can take licks you already know, rock licks and blues licks, and turn them into jazz licks. Yep, I'm not kidding. What about something like this? If we said, everybody knows that lick, right? How might we say that in jazz? Yep, right? All right, so what I did is I started on the F note, going up to F sharp, to make it a little bit more dissonant, a little bit more chromaticism in there. And notice where there were bends, I'm favoring slides. That's a big part of it too. All right, let's do another one. How about the classic Chuck Berry riff? Let's make that a jazz lick. All right, how about, or maybe even better. All right, so what am I doing? From E to F sharp, and then to the same note on the B string. So you could do a quick slide, or you could park there for a second, or you could start on the F note, make it a little bit more dissonant, or lots of different ways to do it. Okay? But it's inspired by that Chuck Berry lick. Now this gets me to thinking about the fact that we have an alternate fingering of the same note here, and this is something that a lot of jazz musicians, especially saxophone players, love to do. They find an alternate fingering of the same note and they play with it. So and that's something you can have fun with as well. All right, here's the third one that everybody knows. How about this lick? Right? So how might we make that into a jazz lick? Well, we might go, right? And it's jazz. All right, now it's obviously the more bluesy side of jazz, but any ear, whether it be the musician ear or the lay ear, would recognize that you're trying to go in more of a jazz direction. So you can do that with any lick you know. Experiment and see how you could take phrases that you're already familiar with, that you already play, and make them jazzy. Another great way to take your lead guitar playing in more of a jazz direction is to use your pentatonic scale. All right, here's the box that we all know and love. You can add the blues note to it. Okay, all right. Now from there, we can add the chromatic notes in between the end fingers, right? Between the first and the fourth finger here and the first and the third finger. Let me demonstrate. So, chromatic note, chromatic note, chromatic note or blues note, chromatic note, chromatic note, chromatic or blues note again, chromatic note, chromatic note, chromatic note, chromatic note, chromatic note, all right? So these are notes that are not in the blues scale. Now we can use these and it'll totally take our playing into jazz direction. So let's say I went, all right, so here it is slow. All right, I could even make it a little more jazzy by doing this. All right, the very last note before I went back here, or second to last note, I slid into it. How about something like this? All right, right inside the pentatonic box. How about and you can just play around with stuff. Just make up stuff. And just explore those other notes that you may not usually use when you play the pentatonic scale. And a great third option, I would say, would be to use octaves. So if we played our pentatonic, or say the pentatonic blues scale, all right, let me slow that down. So we're basically playing the blues scale, going that same pentatonic box we just used, but doing it in octaves now. So here we go. Okay, that's one octave in octaves. Continuing, blues note. And I'd work that out going back. All right, now, a few things about octaves. Octaves are all about muting. And there are probably 3 ways you could do octaves. You could pluck them with the pick and a finger, kind of a hybrid pick thing. A lot of people like to do that at first. Okay. You could also strum them with the pick. Rock players do that all the time with distorted sound. My favorite way is to go Wes Montgomery and use the thumb and go, because it just sounds so authentic and just darker and warmer. But either way, they all work. And the main thing is to mute. You only want to hear the 2 notes you're pressing, and the left hand just has to mute everything else because you don't want any open strings ringing. So if you just play your pentatonic scale or your blues scale in octaves immediately with this sound, it's jazzy. So what we can do again is take licks and phrases that you already know and make them jazz with octaves now. So like, let's say I took the last run of Stairway to Heaven, you know, and went, could I make that into a jazz lick? Let's see. I go. How about if I went a little SRV and I took something like, could I make that into a jazz lick with octaves? Maybe, let's see. So anything that you know or anything you can dream up in the pentatonic scale, see if you can answer it in octaves. So you can do like a question-answer exercise. So obviously doing this doesn't turn you into a jazz player, but it definitely makes your playing lean more in that direction. And it's a great trick of the trade, something that pros use and something that you can take really far. If you've been enjoying these lessons and would like something sequential, I have a course called Take It From the Top. It's at Mike Bauer Music. If you go over there, you can actually watch a sample module of it. It'll get you up and running as we spend equal time on strumming, fingerpicking, and playing melodies. And each song, almost every song, gets you ready for a famous song. And there's more on there about that. Mike Bauer Music is called Take It From the Top. Well, I hope this has been helpful, and I'm already looking forward to being back with you next week.